Hi, everybody. I'm sitting here with Peggy Rowe Ward, one of our mindful leadership faculty. Hi, Peggy.
Hi, good
So,
to be here.
Peggy's going to talk to us today about decolonizing the mind, which is a new course that's in development, right?
Right,
So,
right.
Peggy has spent many hours and lots of energy from the brain developing this course, and of course, energy from the heart. So let's talk first about what decolonizing the mind is.
Okay. Well, first of all, in case you haven't met me, I'm in San Diego at a friend's house. We're in between houses and the land of the Algonquin people. And I'm very happy to be with you and have Rachel help me again with this interview.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I've been passionate about putting this course together, and I've been putting it forward for over a year now, and I'm almost done. Um, but I've been inspired because of what's going on in our world right now. My heart is on fire, connected to climate change, politics, race, gender. Um, there's so much that I am feeling passionate about, and I'm really convinced from my own experience that we have to do our own work with our mind. We've lived in a colonized world for at least the last 500 years. And what that means is that there's been a structure that can be invisible or visible that impacts our thinking and our beliefs and eventually our actions. And it has been a structure that has been white supremacist in its making. And so it requires our deep spiritual practice, whatever that is, to help unpack some of these thoughts and thinkings and behaviors. And so right off the bat, I want to say this course is not about blame. It's not about judgment. That is not going to help us. It is about how our mind puts together these things and how our mind works on meditation. And that's the very good news, is that through our mindfulness practice, that we can dismantle this thinking that has us trapped, even if we don't know we're trapped. So that's a start.
That's interesting because, I was just thinking yesterday about what is colonization. I was listening to something, a podcast or NPR, and it really is many people, because most of the world is colonized or
Exactly.
has been colonized at some
Exactly.
point. So we really need to dismantle the perceptions of our colonizers,
Mm-hmm.
because with them, they came and put their belief system on the people of whatever native land in which they were staking their flag in.
Mm-hmm.
How do we dismantle that perception, dismantle that colonization of our minds?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we use our mindfulness practice. So just for starters, I'm going to invite this bell and invite you all to take just a few breaths. And first of all, just notice where you are with your mind and thoughts. We're talking about race. We're talking about these tough topics. So I'm going to invite the bell and just take a breath. Hopefully that was a few breaths. What do you notice inside of yourself right now, Rachel? Any shifts? Maybe, maybe not.
It's really interesting. That bell brings such peace to my mind. I studied yoga for many years, Eastern religions. Even in Catholic Church, we had bells.
Mm-hmm.
So as I sit here and you ring that, it's almost like this meditation lunch bell,
Yes.
so to speak. I just stop and it finally is like recognize what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Before we came on this interview, Peggy and I were talking about the anxieties we're feeling
Mm-hmm.
because of the pandemic, because of this shift to individuality and advocacy for race and differences in our worlds. And I was saying that, I don't want to talk for anyone else, My anxiety is so high. My stress level is at a new high, that it's its new benchmark. And I haven't had room, and I think Peggy, you can talk to this too, about how do we just make room for that spiritual practice right now?
Right. Well, thanks, Rachel. We were both talking about it. As I had just moved from a town of 8,000 to Southern California. We had, where I had come from, there was 2 stoplights in the whole town, and I've come to 5 lanes of traffic. And so right now my practice is even on the freeway.
Yeah.
But it is just noticing what you did, Rachel, was practice mindfulness by noticing where you're at. So this is mindfulness 101, is to notice, okay, I can't do one more thing. I call it, I'm old. So we used to have pinball machines that would tilt.
Yeah.
And I know in my own body of mind when I'm kind of at tilt, and that's when I need to at least do 5 breaths, and then promise myself I'll get to my meditation cushion or a walk on the beach, but something to help create some more space,
Yeah.
so that I can come home to the wisdom that is in my body and the curiosity. If I get home, there's this amazing curiosity about life. Isn't that interesting? Can I lean into being uncomfortable? And when I get overwhelmed, I've just had it. And so at this point in my life, we're encouraging, and I'm doing more what we call take 5s. When I worked with school systems, we started teaching mindfulness with 5 breath practice. And even a 5 breath practice will help. Then 5 minutes, and just even getting in a 5-minute chunk. And I think you can do that. That's what I've been doing. I haven't, all our retreats were canceled. I
know.
generally lead retreats. I usually have a retreat every month, and they're all canceled. We're doing them virtually. That's not quite the same, but yes.
Not, but it's where we are.
Yes, it's where we are right now, and where we are to have the courage and the good heart and the faith to handle some tough topics like race.
Sure. So I know you are a lifelong advocate for the world and for people. You're also a mindfulness teacher.
Mhm.
You teach retreats and teach people how to take 5.
Mhm.
So taking all of that into consideration, was that part of your motive for developing this course?
Part of my motive for sure, but I have an African American husband. I have an African American son. I have African American family members. I have had a journey that continues with unpacking white privilege.
Hmm.
Even though I've been with Larry 30 years, I still get woken up to privilege. Even walking in the neighborhood, if we have to knock on the door of someone, if people don't know who we are, I have to knock on the door. Um, um, we still get guns pulled on us. Usually most years about three times a year. And my husband's in his 70s and looks like an old minister, which is what he is. He doesn't wear baggy pants. So I've been real motivated by the pain of the Black Lives Matter movement that's been in my life. And I'm also motivated through my own journey of waking up, which continues. I am not an expert. I am not an expert at all. I am a person that's committed to waking up. And I am a person that's committed to doing it with joy, with gratitude, with faith that we can do this together. And that I really don't know the way. I do know the way in is the way out.
That's interesting. I don't know if you know this, but my children and my children's father are indigenous Mexican.
Ah,
So
I
my
did know.
daughter, and they're beautiful. And my daughter will say things. She's the younger one. She's 18. She'll say, sometimes, Mom, I'm not white enough to be white, and I'm not
Yes.
Mexican enough to be Mexican.
Yes.
And that's painful to hear, because I am the white parent, of course. And there is privilege with that, and a white advantage. And I don't know how to teach her how to be indigenous or how to be Mexican, but I can teach her where it is, where the information can be. And that's interesting that you take that stance, because I do understand that as a parent as well. You know, it's a hard road to walk.
It is. My husband just published a book. I'm going to plug it, America's Racial Karma. And we do work that is BIPOC, people of color only. And we also do some work that is a blend.
Talk about BIPOC for a second. Biracial,
indigenous people of color. Yeah. And so there's a lot of the work right now that's happening globally thanks to COVID. This is advantage in COVID, that the classes Larry has of people from all over the world, and the classes we have. So in a lot of our retreats when we were on the ground, had people that I call special blends, like your daughter and son, and it's a particularly fraught journey because they don't fit either place. And as they do their work, I believe bridge people like your kids are just critical for us all. And I see their role as being very important in our future, the people that can bridge like your kids can.
Yeah.
And it's a tough one because they don't quite fit. So they have to really find their home with this juicy blend of both cultures, and both cultures have gifts and both cultures have shadows.
Oh, well, I raised them. I tried to, and you probably do the same. I tried to raise them with both feet on the ground and securing who they are as a human, and we'll deal with the rest later.
Yeah.
So, I know we talked a little bit about white privilege and how your course isn't about blaming anyone for colonization or the color of their skin. Talk to me a little bit about what students are going to get out of this class as they move through these 12 weeks with you.
Yeah, we're looking at 1 week we'll look at unconscious bias. 1 week we'll look at power. 1 week we'll look at privilege. 1 week we'll look at gender. 1 week we'll look at sexuality. We're cultural identity, intersectionality. So some of the assignments are to have a brave conversation at work. Some of the assignments are to look at your workplace and do a privilege audit. So we're really trying to put some information and then some practice that takes it back on the ground so they can look at that again, not with judgment, but with this clear seeing. And we're also using a meditation practice called RAIN that you can find online in many books. Tara Brach's books use that. Ruth King's wonderful book, Mind and Race. Rhonda McGee's wonderful book uses this method. And it's just a method of taking a topic and reflecting and sitting with it and then noticing what we notice. So the focus in this class is really on our own inner practice with these difficult topic areas. I remember years ago when I was doing corporate training, we had this CEO bring us in and he said, "Oh, well, we don't want any of the soft stuff." And I said, "Well, what is the soft stuff?" He's, "Oh, those people things." And I said, "Well, tell me, would you rather do your market report or talk to somebody about their inadequate performance? What's hard and what's soft?"
Yeah.
And so this stuff is I feel for leaders is really important for us to develop and to get more comfortable with brave conversations. And again, not that we have the answers. There's not going to be a formula, but there is an invitation to bring your authenticity, your beauty, your strength to your workplace.
Interesting. I'm in a conflict resolution course right now as part of my doctoral program. And what I thought was most interesting is training myself to listen to difficult conversation. I can talk about it. I can say my piece, but listening to someone else talk about something that maybe I don't agree with, or going along a perception that I don't see. But listening and, talking about race at work when we all have similar values is not hard.
Mhm.
But talking about race or discrimination or diversity with people who have different views is hard. It's painful sometimes. So I'm training myself to listen to difficult conversation.
Yeah, that's the key, is to not run away and just do what we can to show up. And it doesn't mean we need to agree, but can we show up? And that's where it does take some courage and working with your mind. Remember years ago, I had an Indigenous teacher that brought me for the first time ever as a white woman and my friend to a sweat with all Indigenous women.
Interesting.
And they were horrified, first of all, but at his insistence, we were brought to this sacred site, and there was like 23 women in the sweat ceremony. And the women spent most of the time talking about their suffering and then saying that white people didn't have any suffering. And oh gosh, I had these closet conversations. I do too. I just lost my husband. Come on, I do. I've got suffering. But just to know, I was there, and my teacher knew that I could sit and be present, and just sitting there and listening to their stories of suffering, in particular connected to their Indigenous nature, was healing for them. And that I had to find how that was healing for me, even if I wasn't seen. I have had plenty of experiences where I've gotten to be seen as a white person in our society. So yeah, that was a big one for me, to just keep
sit
breathing.
and listen. And I think some of I don't think I know the suffering many people of color are talking about is generational suffering.
Absolutely. And that's, to me, like with the trauma of this, we've all been traumatized by slavery. We've all been traumatized by all of this, every single one of us. So this is the soup we're in. And in this course, we're trying to take on more than race, which has made it a joy to create, and a lot of work on my part. The first time I teach it, I think it'll be rough, but my experience with teaching my first time classes is that there's some beneficial juice and energy, because you'll really get a lot of my good heart and passion and well wishes, and we're going to learn a lot. No doubt, it's not perfect, but perfect is a sign of white supremacist culture. You know that, right?
Interesting. What does that mean?
That perfection, judgment, comparison, that's all kind of this framework that we've been seeped in. And if we can relax more of that, you're just going to I'm feeling more relief when I'm not being judged and criticized with my every move.
Doesn't everyone feel better when they're not being criticized or feel? And we have to get over our own internal judgment too, but
Yeah.
So the class is called Decolonizing the Mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be offered soon. Do we know exactly?
It's scheduled, and we'll see what happens for winter, January.
Okay.
But that's the plan.
I'm so excited. This is such a necessary discussion for not just white people to have, but for everyone to really hear about the work we are all doing, we as advocates, as women, as Americans, as earthlings. Because we all just are earthlings on this rock spinning together, aren't we?
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Peggy.
Thank you so much.
I always love having a time to sit and talk to you.
Well, thank you so much. I feel the same. Maybe we'll do another one. Yay.
I think we need another one. Maybe the next one we'll talk about mindfulness a bit more.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Peggy.
Have a good day. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Take good care. Bye.